Hello, welcome to a new episode of Digging Deep and Oki 811 podcast. I'm your host, Luis, along with my great colleague, William Bohannon. Today we have a special guest from the city that never sleeps, from New York, Mike Iadanza. He is
Thank
a
you.
the senior vice president for Mason Private Locating. This is a private locating company. And today with Mike, we're going to have a great conversation about private lines versus public lines. But first, Mike, I want to thank you for being here with us today. I know there's a little bit of time difference with the East Coast, but we
Yeah,
appreciate the
it's
time.
good. I
Yeah.
appreciate you having me on here. I thought you'd have those fancy gadgets that when you announced me, it'd be like we'd have the
Oh,
applause in the background. So I did it
I
on
have
my
Paul
own.
here in the back that I can
I love it. That's great.
uh,
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you all having me on. This is good. I've been looking forward to this.
No, that's amazing. We were trying to actually do it here in our studio, in a little studio that we have here when you were here in OKC for our conference. But obviously time was a little difficult.
Yeah,
But
that was the week of those travel delays. I think
yeah, I know
that
it's
bit me
yeah,
pretty good. Yeah.
it's hard when you're flying, especially Oklahoma's airport is small, so flies in and out are just it's always a mess.
Yeah. We're getting it
Um,
done. It's good.
Yeah. Mike, I want to start a little bit with your background, how you got involved with utilities, underground and private. And I know that you also worked for USIC in the past and also for Bloodhound Underground Utilities as a locators, locating
Yeah.
company.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit your full background and how now you're with Mason.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. I actually did 21 years in publishing. I worked and ran creative and marketing and business solutions for Time Magazine, Newsweek, all of those larger big brands. So this was not on my radar at all. I didn't go to school for it. I didn't locate, for many years, like, most of the industry has. And then I had a buddy who owned a pretty large industry leading public locate company, and he's like, hey man, you're sick of going to Manhattan every day, why don't you come join us? And so that's how I got into this industry. And so I've been in it for quite a while now, worked on the both public side and the private side of the utility industry. And so it's good because I kind of feel like I'm well versed on both of those. I've seen the ins and outs from the field through the business strategy, how things work, not only internally, but also for our partners and clients and prospects and things like that. So, yeah, it's been a bit. It's 20 years ago. I had no idea I'd be doing this, but here we sit today, right? And
Yeah.
I'm
So you've
pumped.
seen all the changes in those 20 years.
Seeing all the changes, yeah, currently with Mason Private Locating, which is the largest privately owned private locating company in the country.
Oh, wow.
6 years young, but we're in about 19 states, 100 technicians strong and growing. And so, yeah, we're building a good brand and more importantly, good practices for our partners.
Awesome. Bo, do you want to start kicking with the first question of the day from Mike?
One of the big questions, of course, is what are some misconceptions that people have about private lines and that difference between public utilities and private lines?
Yeah, so one of the biggest misconceptions is that all underground utilities get marked when they call 811. The other misconception is that 811s perform the locates. So for the audience,
Yeah,
they do
that's-
not. Right? For
Thank
the
you. Thank you for
listeners,
reminding the
Yeah.
general public that we don't locate or market.
yeah, for the listeners, Oki 811 does not mark utilities. They're not late on your tickets. They haven't mismarked anything or put down the wrong marks. Um, you're all just the conduit between the person having the work done and the contracted public locate contractors. So who actually do the locating. So I've been speaking at many conferences lately, and you'd be surprised when I ask that question, and most of the audience members are like looking around and they don't want to say anything. But yeah, so you guys don't. So that is a misconception. But in reality, when reaching out to 811, public locate contractors only mark public utilities, things like gas, electric, communications, up to the meter main connection point, right? There's different instances for those. But beyond that, lines like running to a garage or a pool, another structure, those won't be marked because they're privately owned. Now, that being said, 811's doing an amazing job, right? Educating, marketing, promoting safe digging. And everyone needs to call before they dig. So, golf clap, bravo. The Masters is today, I think. So golf clap is, I think, appropriate. But many times you need to go beyond that. And so I have a question for you guys and see if
All
you
right,
know
well, we'll
and
see.
We love
if
it.
you've seen maybe some of our marketing. So what percentage of utilities underground are actually privately owned and not public utilities? Do you know?
Ooh, I don't know the percentage.
That percentage.
0
that
from
would-
100.
0 to 100. Underground private lines percentage. I want to say it's potentially over.
I mean, if I give a really off number, we'll edit it and then we'll put.
No, it works. Let's see it. Let's see what you guys come up with. What is
Okay,
it? Give me any number. Any number.
Okay, 35%.
Okay. 64%. And this study was done like 4 or 5 years ago. Of everything underground is privately owned. So when
What's
we think
halfway?
you're close, man, you're close.
Yeah.
You're close. You're better guessing than some of the guesses that I do on certain things. And so, sorry, I need to put my phone on.
No, you're good.
You can cut that out. Hold on one second. Here we go.
So you were saying 60% of
Yeah.
the undergrounds are privately owned?
Yeah, so 64% of everything underground is privately owned and would not essentially be marked when reaching out to 811. So few misconceptions we gave, right? But that's certainly is one of them.
Awesome.
Interesting. Interesting.
Big, high percentage, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for teaching us.
Yeah,
That was really cool.
yeah.
Hey,
we'll show them
that's my one. That's going to be my one tidbit of the day that I'm going to use for work.
A tricky question of the day. Mike, I have another question, and this is related to homeowners. Why do so many homeowners and also contractors assume 811 covers everything on a property?
Yeah, because the messaging is simple: call before you dig, right? So if people hear that and they assume it's a complete solution. But the system isn't designed to, is designed to protect those public infrastructures and not everything on that property of the facility, right? The other 65%. I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination that every property has 65% of the private underground, utility. So it clearly varies on facility structure, where it is and stuff like that. But homeowners, think about electric to a shed, propane to a gas grill, right? They put, an extension on, anything like that. They'll need to make sure that, before they do any digging. I mean, really interesting. I was probably like less than 6 months into the industry, and I have a twin brother. He's like, hey man, I'm getting landscaping done and we're going to put some trees in. And I know that the trees have these like root balls. So we have to go down, a decent amount to get it. And I was like, call 811. He's like, what? I said, call 811. And so he did, and he got stuff marked, and he was putting stuff very close to where his gas meter was. And do you know that line was under 12 inches below the surface?
Oh wow! So he could have easily hit it here.
Yeah, could have really got struck, and there could have been some issues there. So yeah.
Okay. Third question. I know we're gonna go because this is kind of like I want to say a hot topic sometimes because people really do confuse public with private a lot. Who's usually responsible for private lines once service goes past the meter or point of connection?
It's that property owner. They're really responsible for it. But you know what? It's not the law, right? It's a law to call 811. And so you need to get those marks. There's really no laws built around the private utilities and that infrastructure. So people might not either be educated or know about it. That's why we're doing this. That's great.
Yeah.
But they certainly need to do that. And I give an example of why public utilities are a huge part of the conversation now. 25, 30 years ago, maybe not so much, but now it is, right? So I'm 53. I graduated high school in 1990. It's a bit ago. I've had a few reunions, let's to say to say the least. And so, guys, when I went to school, my high school was literally a box, right? I mean, it was one building. It had a parking lot with some parking lot lights into it. Obviously, there's electric there. It had some electric, running to the electric scoreboard of the football field and the softball field. I go back there now, and that place is like a campus. That one building is probably like just the main office, the classroom buildings, and they built garages to like work on cars and all those different things, structures that they added. By the way, that parking lot is now a 3-story car garage.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
That football field is a little mini, they have these little mini stadiums, arenas right now on all these high schools, right? You feel like you're at a college complex or like a campus. The reason why I bring that up is because all those original utilities and that main structure, when I went to school, they probably would all get marked if you called 811 today, right? All the original stuff put in by the utility companies, maintained, installed by the utility providers. Anything after, if they would call today, anything after the fact has really been put in by what? A subcontractor of the school district. And so what happens, right? Now all of a sudden they call 811. They're like, hey, we're doing work by the ball fields, right? Maybe having a fence put in around the fields or these structures. They call 811, 811. We talked about that. Locators come out, they'll do a great job. They'll mark that stuff and they go, well, why wasn't marked here? Well, you own those lines. And, they have to get that through education or unfortunately, maybe through something happening because they thought they were clear and they're not. Um, so that's really whether it's a homeowner, commercial property or something like that, it's understanding that if you've had those lines in or somebody had put them in before you own that property, you're really responsible for them.
Yeah.
So even though it could have been public, it could also turn into private if somebody buys the land or the property or whatever.
Well, if it was
Eventually, or
installed by a
it's
subcontractor, they own it no matter what. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
So yeah, like if it extends, if they continue the extension,
gotcha.
yeah, if it's a continuation, it sounds like. And with that information and how that campus kind of expanded and had all of that growth, when would you say would be the best time to hire a private locator?
Before you start digging. I mean, guys, you know how many times we get called when it's too late, right? When they've actually hit something. And therein lies the problem, right? So you hit an irrigation line, right? You hit, an invisible dog fence, you hit something like that. And you're like, okay, that stinks, right? It's like, gas, electric going into, a building that shuts services down for a neighborhood or a company or something like that. And often, a lot of times people don't know. And when we get on site, it's a little bit too late. And then what we do our best on, and you guys as well, obviously, is the education of like, if you think there's something else there, chances are there is something else there. And if it hasn't been marked, then that chances are that's a private utility.
And in all your experience, Mike, and you've been in multiple states, have you seen things different when it comes to private locating from like New York and here in the Southwest? Things that like have changed
Yeah, I don't want to beat up New York, but the South and the Midwest seem to be doing it right. New York's got that mentality of like, let's
So
fix
there's a
it.
little bit of culture change in other states that in terms of like
There really is, and I'm not, messing with my New York buddies here who probably will eventually see this and call me and be like, "Hey, I'm a contractor here. What are you
it's a
talking about?"
joke, it's all joke, it's all joke.
Yeah, but yeah, there are differences throughout, but we're all over now. We're from the coast to coast and north to south, but and there are certain states that that take it a little bit more seriously.
Okay.
And the interesting is those states are really following their one calls lead, because they're talking about it. There never used to be, a list of private utility locators on all the websites and things like that, and now there are.
Mhm.
You know, for the first many years of, when I was in the industry, we didn't go to conferences. They didn't talk about private utilities, the differences of private lines and public lines. Now it's being more of a mainstay of the conversation. And I think the more and more we do things like this, the better off everyone is going to be.
Have you guys got caught like at the last minute when they hit something and it's an emergency?
Yeah, that happens
That
quite
happens.
often.
Mhm.
Yeah, quite often. Yeah, and you just have to, make sure you get there and everything's cleared. And the first thing is, was it a public or private line that got hit? Because a lot of times they don't know. I'm going to give you a real quick example here. It was at a hospital, and an oxygen line got hit to going into the hospital.
Oh.
Oh my God, right? Like, yeah, can you imagine? And so, hey, what happened here? That line got hit. Do you think that person coming outside was like, was that a private or public line? They have no idea. They just
Mhm.
know that work was getting done, and they were hoping, or someone was hoping that, it was being done safely. All lines were located, but they don't know the difference of what that would be, private or public.
Mhm.
And so, we need to be careful. And so, it's emergencies like that, that happen all over the country. That, you want a safe dig site, but the people working, living, and around them, it's really important that it's safe for them too, so nobody gets hurt.
Oki 811 hosts live webinars every other Wednesday at 2 p.m. local time. These webinars cover a wide range of safety topics for both members and excavators. If you attend our live webinar, you will receive a certificate of attendance. And if you aren't able to attend the live webinar, register anyhow to receive a recording of the webinar the following day. To check out our webinar schedule, go to the Education Events page on our website, oki811.org. If you have questions or suggestions for topics for future webinars, please contact us at education@oki811.org.
If an emergency has happened, right, sometimes they still need to contact public locating,
Correct.
um, or yeah, they have to wait. But if they don't want to hit another line, right, another line that is around, um, would contacting a private locating line, would that be
Yeah,
an answer?
yeah, Luis, that'll happen often, right? God forbid a car
Sorry,
runs
like,
into
sorry.
a telephone pole, and they're like, hey, there's public lines are damaged or something, but we need to repair this. We need to take the pole out of the ground, and we need to understand what's around the ground so we could replace the pole. We'll certainly get called in an instant, like that as well.
Okay.
The private world is a little different than the public world in terms of, we get less emergencies late
Okay.
at night, on the weekend, um, because we're dealing really with private utilities and contractors and surveys and engineer who are really only working around them during work hours.
Okay.
So we very rarely would get a call, for an emergency like that. Now, a water main breaks because it was frozen. Water's coming up through the street. They need to repair it. What else is in there, underground that they don't know about? They could certainly call us for, as extra guidance on that as well.
Okay.
Nice.
Nice.
Excellent. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
sorry that the answer was a little confusing, but I was like, I wanted to get that out of my chest. I wanted to understand if in an
No, I
emergency
get,
situation you can
yeah,
call private in the meantime, right?
yeah, yep. And they'll certainly, they'll have to call obviously notify 811 and all those contractors as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Definitely.
What did you got, Bo?
What do I have? Have you seen in your experience, you shared an example earlier with your twin brother and the gas line putting in the trees, but have there been any other instances or experiences where hiring a private locator prevented major damages to infrastructure or injury to contractors?
So you would be amazed at how many things we locate once we're called at a job site. Um, those that know about private locating will call us first, and we'll go out and mark everything needs to be done. It's amazing how much more flags and paint are on the ground when we leave. Doesn't mean that public locating contractors didn't do their job. It just means that there's so much more there. So, my advice, anytime your project goes beyond simple digging and you're not 100% sure what's underground, give us a call. We're really big in the engineering and survey world, where teams are trying to understand what's under the ground as they plan their build. Could you imagine them doing a roundabout, new roadways, adding on to a hospital or a campus or something like that? And then them getting there, okay, we got this all designed and realize, well, there's a gas line or there's a whole bunch of congested lines underneath where we were going to dig or put a basement or start the building. And so not only is about those who are working on the site, but it really helps those who are planning to work. And so they can kind of get ahead of it. But really, if there's any doubt, it's a really small upfront cost to avoid a really big, expensive problem later.
That is very interesting. Let me see here, because I have a question that is also very important. What type of private lines are most commonly missed, that people miss the most?
Yeah.
All right, are
Tricky
you
question.
ready? Electric lines of all types to many structures, irrigation, propane gas lines, USTs, so underground storage tanks, they're big. Fiber cable lines. So do you get my point? You could see what I'm getting at. Many utilities are missed, and they're not tracked because a lot of times many people didn't know they were there. And so there was no maps and prints for it. And so, that's where having, a locator come out, private locator, and having that stuff. But you get my point.
Yeah.
It's a little of everything. We don't just pick on one utility.
How's in New York with the weather? Can the weather when it snows and stuff like that, can it affect private locating?
It does. It affects all locating. The weather. I mean, God, we had 32 inches in one day here in New York. That bomb cyclone, I think they called it. I
wow.
was digging out for days.
Oh, man.
But yeah, I mean, how do you locate, in something like that? And, when it stays 10 degrees and you got all that, snow on the ground up in northern Michigan, there's dig seasons for a reason, right? And it certainly slows down in some states. They don't have that in Louisiana. They don't have that in Texas. They deal with the heat. But there are some weather elements and conditions that make it very tough, because then that stuff, as it melts, the ground gets saturated. It gets very muddy. We rely a lot on GPR. That's ground penetrating radar. And the density of the soil, the wetness of the soil, having to push that cart through certain types of surfaces can certainly deem challenging. Now our technicians are really good, but if you can't push the cart, if you can't see where to hook up because it's under 2 feet of snow, it gets pretty challenging for everyone involved. I mean, usually construction will halt, kind of stop in those kind of elements. And as they slow down, we'll slow down until the weather kind of breaks a bit.
Excellent. Wow. Yeah. And it's interesting how impactful environmental factors can be with locating. I've had quite a few conversations with some other individuals in the past talking about how with snow and ice, if you try to mark, that marking is just going to go with the water once it all melts and there'll be nothing on the ground. Or when you try to put in your flags in a very populated area, those disappear rather quickly.
And there you go. You've added some great points to that I didn't call out, but you're right. And there's sometimes when things like that happen, right? You can't see the marks, or marks get washed away in torrential rain, and flags get moved. I mean, an active construction site, somebody wanting to mow their lawn, there's a million reasons why some of those marks go away. And so, that's part of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was curious out of, I don't know, just pure interest with private locating, do they also use the APWA?
Yep,
Excellent.
correct.
Excellent. The
We
color
do.
code.
Yeah. And we'll use a lot of pink paint
Mhm.
because often we're not sure what that structure is, right? We know
Well,
there's
there's something
something
out there.
there. Yeah, we know
Yeah.
there's something there. And if that's the case, we'll use pink, but we use the same standards. We go by the same standards, correct?
Excellent. Excellent.
And just curiosity, because I know when public is different, right? When you call in and you have to wait and all that.
Mhm.
Is it private a little more instant? Like if for example, and I know services may change.
You're
right?
going to make
Maybe.
me plug my company and marketing.
No, I just want to understand, like, it's a private.
Yeah.
Like, if I call you right now and like, and I'm pretty sure a lot of private companies probably work pretty similar in that area.
Mhm.
But I mean, is it just like, hey, is it within 6 hours you guys are?
Yeah, I can tell you we try to do 24 to 48 hours
Oh, similar to public. Yeah.
lead
Yeah.
time. So similar to public, we try to get out there right away. We try to stay fully staffed to get out there right away. We know people have needs. Part of this ad education is going like, hey, calls before you know you're going to be doing this, right? So try to call us before. And sometimes that doesn't happen, and that's fine. So, but there is no law saying like we need to be there and have this marked within 48 hours.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
we're going to get there as soon as we could possibly get there. Dig season provides further challenges because everybody's digging at once and you just have technicians going all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, public locators, I mean, the sooner the better. And, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Very nice.
Any other question for Mike?
I just got to ask because I feel like this is our standard question to wrap things up with. Mike, what do you believe is the most important part to damage prevention working around utilities and excavation?
That we all have the same goal in mind, and that's to be safe. There's a ton of different stakeholders. I've been on panels where we've had public locators and private locators and excavators and engineers, and we've had ISP, large broadband companies, right, and all of that. And so every stakeholder needs something else, and a lot of times each stakeholder kind of puts their needs and wants in front of everybody else. And so what we need to realize is if an ISP provider is coming through and they're about to call 30,000 tickets in a month, and that small municipality of, 3 technicians gets overwhelmed, we need to understand that. And so could they have been notified that this was going to happen so they can plan for it, right? And so we just need to all be on the same page. I think we all need to understand that the common goal is to have get all the stuff in the ground, but really do it safely. And if we all take a step back and just pre-plan and think about everything involved, everyone involved, you take a little extra time up front, and that actually saves everybody in the long run. It saves that project. Chances are that project will go quicker. It'll go quicker. It'll go quicker. It'll go cheaper. And it'll be done safe with nobody getting hurt. If we just take a step back and understand, like, hey, we're all in this together. I know we all have different mindsets based on different stakeholders, but there's got to be a common ground here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Very nice.
Yeah, we all have the same, I guess, same goal at the end of the day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Keep people safe.
Safety, damage prevention.
And I was just recently at your show, and
Yeah.
what was it called? The Safety Day or whatever that was. And
It was the
The-
Oklahoma Excavation
so-
Safety
Excavation.
Expo.
Yeah, I was about to I'm gonna leave it to you because I always get confused with English
there
and
you
that.
go. But I mean, you did a great job. You had many different stakeholders there. There was a lot of great conversations around a lot of different things. But at the end of the day, it was damage prevention, and it's comprehensive to everyone. So You all doing a great job of talking about it, and we need to just keep these conversations going.
Gotta invite us to New York. Maybe
Yeah.
we can do a little bit of safety training over there.
Yeah, exactly. Sure.
Yeah.
Come on over.
Are
It's
you?
it's
Are
about
you?
it's about
Go ahead,
40 degrees here today. I don't know where it is.
No.
we'll probably wait
We'll
until
wait.
mid-July. Do you live in where? You say Long Island or?
I live in Long Island, New York. Correct.
Oh, okay.
Very nice.
What's close to you, Manhattan or Brooklyn?
So Manhattan is about an hour west of me. Long Island looks like a little fish.
Okay.
Manhattan is about an hour west of me, and Montauk Point, Jaws, the movie that it was filmed,
Oh,
Montauk
yeah.
Point. That's the furthest part east you can go. And that's about an hour. That's about an hour east of me. So I'm really kind of towards the middle of Long Island, if you will. I mean, we need bridges and tunnels to get to all the boroughs.
I've been in New York a couple of times. It's a great city. It's like a super nice city, I would say.
Yeah.
Mike, thank you again for being here with us. Anything that you want to say before we say goodbye? Any
No,
last message?
I appreciate you both. I appreciate Oki 811. Looking forward to some great conversations and further partnership with y'all. So I appreciate you.
Oh, thank
We
you, Mike.
appreciate you. Thank you for being on today.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone. Keep it safe. Until next time.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.